Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the channel. As always, it is Nick here, back with your daily crypto news and analysis. And today we're actually going to be talking about some warning signs. Listen, I've been talking to you guys a little bit about the Bitcoin pullback that we could be expecting very soon. Obviously, yeah, we've seen some volatile price action today. We hit the demand zone on Bitcoin, which I will be talking about and addressing in this video as well. Why do I think that we can go lower? Well, all signs are kind of pinpointing to that point. Now, overall, would I be upset if we don't go lower? Absolutely not. This is just to have capital on the side or fiat on the side to actually buy the dip if we do get the dip. It is not guaranteed for us to go much lower, but I'm still expecting it because it would help us to pretty much propel above the all-time high and also get to some major high targets. So with that being said, let's just jump into it and let's address what happened in the overall market today. So we were down a little bit significantly. We actually see an XRP dip down to one of my major buy points. We're going to be talking about that. Most altcoins didn't take too bad of a hit today. Like Hbar actually held up fairly strong against the dip. XLM did as well. There's a few altcoins that actually held up fairly strong. I'm actually happy with Hbar in regards to its nice price action today. It wasn't anything too significant, and it wasn't anything too worrisome in regards to, some major price action that happened on it or anything like that. Now, before we fully jump into this video, I just want to give you guys a quick insight. I will be uploading 6 new videos to my website today, NCashOfficial.com. I'm hoping to get all 6 out. Might not get all 6, but nonetheless, I'm going to be uploading a ton of content more to this website, NCashOfficial.com. I do have a full bundle that includes all future products for free as well. So definitely get that if you guys do want, to know my insights on my portfolio as well as my exit strategies and all that kind of stuff. But let's talk about Bitcoin. So originally in my video yesterday, I said we could be eyeing this nice demand zone down here. Now, we actually didn't really get to this point, but I still think that this is still a strong point to get to down here. But in fact, on the 4-hour span, and this is why I always like to look at a macro time basis, we have a little bit of a demand channel up here that we actually, pretty much peaked down to perfectly. So let's actually move this rectangle up real quick, and let me show you guys that. So overall, this was that nice little support and also resistance point going all the way back to around roughly the 15th. This is where we really had that nice breakout point to get to that $60,000 plus range. But this was a nice little support channel around the 59K to almost 59.5K point. I said that we could be seeing that yesterday, I believe, or it was the day before yesterday. I'm not sure. I know that I've been talking to you guys about this correction for a fairly long time now. It's not to scare you guys or, get you to sell your altcoins or anything like that, because I see some really ridiculous comments on some of my videos where people are like, dude, you just want to buy these altcoins at a cheaper price, stop shilling this garbage, stop fudding. It's just comical to me that that is what crypto has come to, where people actually think that, YouTubers or, just anybody out there is trying to get cheaper buys by, getting people to sell their bags. That's not the case. I always say never sell your altcoins right now at all. I actually say, HODL them because right now we are getting very, very close to all season. But overall, on the macro time basis, we dipped down to about roughly almost 59K exact. Now, on the macro time basis, like on the 2 hours and stuff, we are seeing us really kind of regain some strength. This was a strong wick down. Now, the reason why we didn't stay down here too much, and this is on the 1 hour, right? So on the 1 hour, this goes back roughly about 4 hours ago. The basis behind this is the fact that we really need a close still above about roughly almost 60K. It's like around 59.9K. A close above that level is fairly strong, and I think that that's where, we're basically going to settle on. I think that we were going to pretty much be pumped up a little bit up here, trade sideways, get that nice weekly candle close today, and then that is where, the real disaster happens. I mean, I'm not going to say we're going to come down to, 30K or anything like that. No. But I think that we could be eyeing some nice juicy buys for a lot of altcoins, as well as, Bitcoin coming down much lower. And the reason why I say that is because right now, currently, I've been talking to you guys about the macro time base levels in regards to percentages dropped from percentages rose, right? And right now we have risen about 58% from the bottom of this candle. It's actually 59.33%, but it is what it is. Now, overall, when we're talking about this, we only pulled back about roughly about 6.38%. And I always said watch for XRP and watch for Hbar for those nice juicy buys. For an example, I said XRP down to around $1. We almost got that today exact. I don't know if this was a scam wick because I know that Binance is a little bit weird, but let's look at the 1 hour. So we came down as low as roughly about $1.02. That's a fairly good buy-in point in my opinion, but I do think that we could come down lower to my nice buy demand zone down here at around 91, almost 92 cents to around $1, and we could be seeing 85 cents being targeted if that is the case, considering the fact that on Bitcoin, we've only seen a 6.38% pullback, but look at the percentages that we dropped on altcoins in regards to that, right? Because right now, from the top of this candle down here, this is roughly 2x. So whatever Bitcoin's doing, considering the fact that Bitcoin dominance is fairly high, and I do think that it is targeting 47%, I think that we will see 47% fairly reasonably, probably about tomorrow or the next day. This week is going to be fairly volatile. Going back to the market structure, if we go back, let's go to the Bitstamp chart and let's actually go back on the weekly basis, and I could kind of show you why October isn't just the, Uptober month that everybody has been screaming for. Oh, October is such a bullish month. It is, right? And don't get me wrong, I think that the price action right now is fairly incredible on Bitcoin and all of the market. But when we're talking about what ends up happening in October, here's September, and September was fairly good. October was fairly good as well. But we also had pullbacks along the way. To disregard those pullbacks and just say, hey, look at all the green candles, and we could actually zoom in and look at this as well on a macro time basis, it's fairly hard to see this because a lot of people only show you the green candles, but I want to show you also what ends up happening through these months as well. For an example, the major pullbacks didn't really start until November as well. So we have to watch November as well. But right now, we also seen a 13% pullback in October, which this was ranging around October 13th all the way to around October 18th. Today is the 17th. Tomorrow is the 18th. Will we be seeing a pullback tomorrow? I don't think so. Not exactly. But I would say right now, when we're talking about 13% pullbacks, the reason why I'm watching this and talking about this fairly closely is because 13% on Bitcoin will lead to roughly about a 26% because it is usually a lot more than what Bitcoin actually pulls back. Why am I talking about October dates and why am I talking about this week specifically? Well, there's a lot of things to actually bleed into this week. First off, I always talked to you guys a little bit about the Bitcoin ETF. Well, the Bitcoin ETF is not good. A lot of people thought that that was fairly bullish, that it's going to send us to 100K plus, but I don't think people actually understand why the ETF is actually not a good thing. For example, look at this. I love gold and silver. The worst thing to happen to them was futures contracts. Bitcoiners cheering this Bitcoin futures ETF really need to study what happens when you give Wall Street control over something they view as a threat. And that is the clear sign here, right? For the longest time, everybody was like, I love Bitcoin because it's so decentralized. Well, why are you putting power into suit hands? The idea of crypto was always to get away from centralization of currency and money. And now we are literally cheering on Bitcoin becoming more and more centralized as the days go on. It makes no sense to me, excuse me, why people are actually cheering about this. Now we do see here, I see this repeated a lot. Gold and Bitcoin are different animals. It's hard to take delivery of gold. No one knows the true supply of physical or paper, but someone can demand Bitcoin settlement in 10 minutes. It's all auditable. Running naked with Bitcoin will bankrupt people big time. And honestly, I just want to say right now, when we're talking about this Bitcoin ETF, I've said it from the day one that ETFs within this market are not a good thing. I've always said it. A lot of people cheer on for the stupidest things in this market just because they want a basis on, hey, we are going to the moon. I think a lot of people need to sit back, relax, not look at things in the bullish sentiment point that they always want to make a clear sign of. Because somebody could say, hey, I just sold 9,000 Bitcoin, and somebody will say, wow, not going to make it. He should have never have sold it. We're going to the moon tomorrow. And then all of a sudden, we crash. Like, people always have a bullish sentiment point for anything that happens, bearish or bullish. It's funny to me that nobody can really change out of that perma-bull idea. A lot of people make fun of me because I flip bearish macro time basis, but it's not the idea of me, flipping bearish. It's the idea of me saying, hey, listen, I'm bullish long-term on crypto, but I could also be macro bearish. Anybody can. You don't have to be a perma-bull all the time because then you can't capitalize on dips on altcoins. And I've always said, When you're holding an altcoin and you sell at the top, it's just as, profitable if you sold, somewhere around the top and bought the bottom. You could capitalize on both things. You could capitalize on being a bull. You could also capitalize on being a macro bear in a bull run, because we will see pullbacks along the way. This is not an up-only game, and I think a lot of people disregard that, okay? Now, of course, I am also watching the Bitcoin ETF going live this week. We're seeing either Monday or Tuesday. We need to watch for this because the ETF in the past has always been a sell-off in the short-term basis. Long-term, yeah, sure, this could be a little bit better for us because it means more volume flowing through the market. But overall, who's really going to buy Bitcoin from an ETF when you could buy Bitcoin from an exchange, or, you could store it somewhere safe on cold storage like a Nano or Nano, S or X. But overall, I think the ETF is nothing too bullish. It's not going to send us to the heavens of, 200K plus. And I still don't think 200K plus gets targeted for Bitcoin, but that's just my overall opinion. Now, we also shout out to the Crypto Drake, we also have the Evergrande offshore payments miss, and Bitcoin still at the resistance after the perfect catalyst in ProShares ETF futures debut and NYSE ETF hype set for tomorrow, October 18th. So we need to watch for this, right? Because with all of this in mind, it could be one big catalyst event to actually push Bitcoin to the low, get a lot of people, liquidate it. It will be a catalyst event for a bearish sentiment throughout the market. That is what I'm watching for, okay? And don't get me wrong, listen, I would love to be extremely bullish right now, but when we're talking about ETFs and we're talking about this Evergrande stuff, which I've always said the Evergrande stuff doesn't matter too much, but a lot of things, again, when I talk about people playing into the bullish idea where, hey, this guy sold 9,000 Bitcoin, he's not going to make it, we're still going to 100K, a lot of people will still play into the bearish idea too. They'll find bearishness throughout anything. A perfect example of this is Crypto Whale on Twitter. If you don't follow him or if you've never seen his tweets, you should probably go and look, because that's the idea of finding bearishness throughout anything in this market. And people play the same card game on a bullish sentiment point too. Now, in regards to this, I think people will sell and panic just because they do see the Evergrande stuff. I think that people play into their emotions way too much in this market. So obviously this will probably lead into a little bit of a sell-off too. And again, when we're talking about the short-term basis, when we're talking about October being, a little bit of a bull, month, it is, right? Because look at this, right? When we go back to 2017, 2018, the beginning of October, yeah, we had a slight pullback. It wasn't anything too crazy. But after that, we just continued and continued and continued. And realistically speaking, if we're talking about the bottom of this candle and we talk about, to the topping point here, it's roughly about 40%. Okay, we pumped about 40.74% without any pullback, and then we pulled back 13%. We pumped already 58% on Bitcoin, and we had a 6% pullback. That is the most amount that we've seen in a pullback. So you're trying to tell me that we are not headed for a nice little correction on Bitcoin? It would be healthy and it would be needed. I know a lot of people don't like corrections or pullbacks on Bitcoin or in this market because they just want to see, the mass amount of wealth being created in their wallet and in their bank account. But the problem is that you do not create wealth by not having pullbacks. Bitcoin and all markets alike, we're talking about, the Dow Jones, we're talking about the NASDAQ, we're talking about just anything. It could be stocks, it could be commodities, it could be whatever. They have to have corrections. Corrections allow for a lot more price movement to the upside. I've talked about this multiple times all the time. A lot of people don't like me saying about corrections or pullbacks, but the problem is the fact that when we're talking about this market will play into people's emotions because everybody wants to be bullish all the time. Trust me, I'd love to make a video every single day saying, hey, we're going to the moon, we're going to be making life-changing wealth, but that's just not me. That's just not me, okay? Listen, if you want to listen to people who are bullish all the time and spewing nonsense, you guys could easily find that on YouTube. There's pretty much almost 90% of the crypto community does not give you guys the straightforward facts. And the straightforward facts are right now, we are looking for a much deeper correction than 6.38%. We pumped 59, almost 60%, okay? So yeah. Am I looking for a 13% pullback? A 13% pullback would bring us down directly to about 54.6K. I just want you guys to know that 54.6K was the strong support zone going all the way back to October 11th, the 12th, and the 13th. Yeah, we peaked down a little bit below it. The major support is around 56K, but this is where we pretty much bounced off of multiple times on the macro base levels. So 13% would be welcoming. Do I think that we could see much lower? Sure. I think that we could even dip down into my demand zone down here and bounce off of 50.5K. That would be 20%. That would be a 40% correction on altcoins across the board. Okay? Excuse me. Now, in regards to 40%, do I think that that would be welcoming? Absolutely not. Because when we're talking about 40% pullbacks on most altcoins, first off, I just want you guys to know that I'm actually fairly happy with Hbar's price action today. In regards to what Bitcoin did, we pulled back about roughly 11%, so a little bit less. We tapered off a little bit less than XRP did. But overall, if we do see a 40% correction, this would send Hbar down fairly low. I mean, this is like, we're talking about 21 cents. Now, I'm just saying, this is not guaranteed to happen, and we do not need to dip this deep. We could just dip about roughly, 16%, or even, like I said, come down to this point at around 13%, which would be welcoming. And, that's where we see 26%, which 26% would bring us down to around 26 cents. We've seen this, price action move up, or I should say this price target move up a lot in the Discord. We've seen Encrypt30 say it. I've said it multiple times. We could see 25 to 27 cents. I've also had my buy zone at around 30 cents to around 27 cents. And this still remains the same because I'm still expecting a stronger pullback on Bitcoin. Everybody is so bullish right now. Everybody is so greedy. And I know that once you switch basis and you talk about different, ideas throughout the market, a lot of people will continue to say, oh, well, you're just fudding on the market, blah, blah, blah. That is not the case, okay? I am not giving you guys, the garbage of, hey, we're going to the moon tomorrow. No, absolutely not. That's just not the case. I'm not going to do that to you guys. I'm not going to spew nonsense to you guys because it just does not make sense for me to tell you guys that. I don't want you guys to miss out on possibly, getting a better buy. I don't want you guys to buy high and end up selling low. I don't want you guys to do that. So overall, when we're talking about where we could see a lot of altcoins, if we do see that nice deep 13%, like I said, we could be seeing 25 to 27 cents for Hbar. On XRP, again, when we're talking about the short-term basis on the current price to the downside, now, of course, the current price is a little bit different because we could see higher prices being moved, so the percentages and the price targets could be a little bit different. But I've always said that we could be seeing, so if we do see 26%, we could be seeing around the 77 cent to around the 85 centile range, which is fairly reasonable, but I still have higher buys up here, and the reason why is because I'm just not dead set on the idea of Bitcoin pulling back 13%. We could bounce off of the 56K point where there is a ton of support, and it will still be a fairly reasonable percentage drop because even if we correct to around this point, it's still roughly around almost 11%, which I still think is fairly good to have us move up a little bit higher. But again, when we're talking about the past recent pullbacks on Bitcoin, we've seen deeper corrections of around 19%, 20%, 30%, and we continued much higher. So again, percentages dropped and corrections are totally welcoming in my opinion. We go all the way back to when we were pretty much originally getting to the all-time high. We're talking about 140% led by a 32% almost pullback, which again, 102%, 20%, and this tapers off. The more and more that we, or I should say the less and less that we drop in price and the more that we pump up in price, the less and less that we actually move in percentages up. For an example, from this point up, it was around roughly 44%. So when we're talking about that, percentages gained versus, percentages lost, it still outweighs, right? This is still incredible profit. If you sold and bought down here, you're still shorting it by 32%, which is fairly good. Again, you can capitalize on pullbacks as well. You don't always have to just hodl your coins and sell at the top. You could still buy those dips and still make a ton of cash as well. So that's why I tell you guys when we could be seeing a correction. It's to capitalize on the dips. I don't want you guys to be buying the tops. That's not what we do here. But overall, in regards to Bitcoin dominance, yes, I think that we could see 47%, which will allow for our altcoins to actually get an even deeper hit if Bitcoin does have this nice correction. I'm just saying this week is very important to watch for. In my opinion, definitely keep an eye out on a lot of the dates that I'm telling you guys about, which is, again, tomorrow, Tuesday. We have to watch for that ETF because I think ETFs, in my opinion, are just a sell the news aspect. A lot of people think it's so bullish, but it's really not. I think that these people just want to get any sort of bullish idea in their head to validate their emotions, and that is the biggest problem within this entire market. So definitely keep a close eye out on that. I'm expecting a pullback. It is what it is. I have fiat on the side if I do want to buy. I'm not selling, I'm not shorting, and I don't tell you guys to short either. I will definitely not short because, who knows, right? We could have a blast off to the top, or it could be, a blast off to our demand zones down here, which I would be welcoming either one. I'm not I'm not dead set on being a bear, and I'm not dead set being on, a bull. So I'm watching these fairly closely. The Bitcoin charts for these assets look extremely rough. Right now, Hbar is bottoming out on major support around the 579 overall SAT level. This goes all the way back to around September 7th. Now, right now, and I just said right, pretty much 100 times, but overall it doesn't matter when we're talking about this level that we're basically on. It goes all the way back to July 17th. This was also resistance going all the way back to June. I am watching this level to be held. I personally want it to be held. If we do go down lower, we will find a lot of support somewhere down in these levels going all the way back to around the summertime. There's quite a bit of support down here, but again, a deeper dive on the Bitcoin price chart, guess what that allows for the USD chart to have? A deeper pullback. So I'm watching the Bitcoin pairs for a lot of these altcoins, especially even XRP, because look at what happened today on XRP. We dipped down to my personal 1740 SAT level perfectly, so I'm fairly happy with that. I think that that was a fairly good pullback, and I think that I'm, overall, when we're talking about the capitalization on a lot of these dips, I think that these dips are fairly reasonable to DCA in, just in case, we do go lower or if we don't go lower. So DCAing is not a bad idea right now for a lot of these altcoins like XRP and stuff. Now, right now, I would not be buying XRP just around the $1.10 range because I still think that we could retest about $1.05 if you were looking to buy. I'm just telling you guys that right now. But overall, the major concerning factor today was pretty much the, alt market cap, right? Because when we're talking about the alt market, we pretty much dipped down below the $1.3 trillion mark, which was the 786. I said that if we do dip down below that, we could possibly be looking at a retest of the 702. We came close, right? We came close to, it was like 1.26 trillion. So that's fairly reasonable to see. It was nothing too concerning overall. On the weekly zone, we still have this nice cup and handle forming. Again, when we're talking about this, this is still a fairly bullish pattern, and I still think that this is in an uptrend overall. So could we be seeing a nice little bit of a retest of 1.5 trillion? Yeah, we could, but I still think that we have that nice sort of dip that we are looking for happen beforehand. And that's where we dip down below, $1.2 trillion, which is still a fairly reasonable dip on this market, and this will bleed throughout the entire alts. We're talking about Hbar, we're talking about XRP, we're talking about XLM. Pretty much every altcoin in this market will see a little bit of a disruption in price if that does happen. So I'm watching this closely as well. I'm watching the volume on pretty much all of this as well in regards to XRP and Hbar. The volume on Bitcoin today was absolutely disgusting, to say the least. Like, it was pretty rough. We were talking about it in the Discord, and yeah, I mean, overall, just to kind of sum it up, just to give you guys a little bit of an insight and to wrap this live stream up, because we are going into about 23 minutes. Overall, when we are talking about what is happening, just to clarify, I am not bullish or bearish long term, right? Long term, well, actually, I should reiterate that. I am bullish long term. I'm not bearish long term. Bearish will come when I do think that we topped and when we go into the bear market. Now, overall, on the short term basis, I'm macro bearish, but I'm still slightly bullish on a lot of these altcoins, as I do have these nice price targets targeted for Hbar as well as XRP. Overall, what I am talking about in regards to this major week, I always look at the ETF. I always look at the Evergrande stuff. We have to take into accountability the bearish news, because it's very clear to me that this entire market is very, very blinded by everybody on Twitter that will say, hey, we're going to pump. For an example, I always look at people like this. Now, again, I'm not shouting anybody out, and I'm not trying to, target anybody. I'm just saying, when we look at this, a lot of people say, hey, Hbar looks just way too good. We're going to the moon. We're going to, retest the all-time high. But this is the problem with this market, right? A lot of people aren't looking at the bigger picture. Yeah, looking at the USD chart looks great. But when you look at the Bitcoin price chart, we need a solid reversal on this. In fact, we need to have a massive reversal on this above the 789 sat level. That's going to take a while, okay? We are not going to the all-time high anytime soon until we see a lot of strength and volume pour in on the Bitcoin price chart for Hbar, okay? So when we're talking about people like this, when we're talking about tweets like this, I see it all the time. Do not get blinded by the bullishness. Do not buy into an altcoin just because somebody is very, very bullish on something. Listen, I make a lot of videos, okay? I tell you guys the long-term viewpoints for Hbar. I don't make these videos to get people to buy in or FOMO in. It's just the idea that, listen, when we're talking about the long-term viewpoints for Hbar and XRP, they are going to make it. We are going to make it. So, with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, thank you for watching. If you guys are in the chat, I'm sorry that I missed all of the chat. I see it right now. I see it all piling up. Welcome everybody who is in the live stream. Welcome everybody to the channel. If you guys are new to the channel, definitely subscribe and turn notifications on. If you guys do like crypto content, I pretty much upload every single day. I am always talking about the market. I swear it's like the only thing I do at this point. But for anybody who is in here, welcome. Thank you all for stopping by. Thank you all for supporting the channel. I do greatly appreciate it. And yeah, for anybody who does want more free content or more insights, you guys could definitely check out my Twitter and join the free Discord down in the description below, as well as in the comments below. If you guys do want more content, like I said, definitely check out my website, NCashOfficial.com. But with that being said, thank you all for stopping by. Thank you everybody who does continue to support the channel. Guys, it's been Nick.